Hey, bold friend, when we ask most people why they get into real estate, we tend to get a version of the same answer almost every single time. And that's that they were looking for freedom, flexibility, and wealth. Now, of course, they say other things like they love helping people and all that, which is great. And yet, like the root reasons tend to be freedom, flexibility, and wealth. Now, most people in my experience, and I bet if you think about it in your experience too, never really hit the freedom and never really hit the wealth, which kind of go hand in hand, right? Because they come in so hyper focused on flexibility. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the antidote. We're going to talk about how do we get freedom, wealth, and flexibility all in one, and you might not like the answer. And my goal by the end of the video is that you like it a little bit more than you did initially. The way that you get all that is actually through structure. I know. Now, let me explain what I mean. I believe that true freedom comes through structure. Because what happens, right? On any given day, are you super purposeful, intentional, committed, clear, productive? Or do most days feel like you're juggling 10 things with one hand, right? Like we are in an industry and in a time in our society where it's just a mad dash 24/7. And it's really easy to get sucked into that. And so what do? We know that we should do certain things in order to move our business goals and our personal goals forward. And yet they're usually not super urgent. So we let the world tell us what to do. We know we should lead generate in the morning and we don't because it's not really in our schedule. And when we call Sally Joe and Sally Joe says, "Can you come list my house? I can meet tomorrow at 10 a.m." Instead of saying, "Oh gosh, I can't wait to meet with you. I actually have an appointment then." Would 1 o'clock or 5 o'clock work? We just say, "Listing appointment, sure." Oh, and we mess up our whole entire day. So I want to talk about structure and how it can be our friend, by the way, because I want the freedom too. I totally get it. I've just learned over the years that freedom is not necessarily what we thought it was when we got into this business. So let's talk about our calendar, our time block, our schedule, whatever name you desire to give it, and how it can get us to that freedom, flexibility, and wealth. All right, because wealth brings flexibility, friends. Sitting on your couch and watching TV is not flexibility. It's just something we've labeled that way. All right. So, calendar. I want to give you, we're going to talk about it in bold, and yet I want you to get to start this now. First of all, the most important things can never fall victim to the least important things. So that means that we've got to look at that calendar and we've got to make sure that we've got the best things, the most important and impactful things in there. And I'm here to tell you, and this is something we will do an exercise in bold around this. So you might get out of doing some work if you work on this now. Okay, so pay attention. All right. We do an exercise where we put the three most important things in our calendar. The number one thing is time off, vacation time. You are working to live, not living to work. The number two thing is daily lead generation. And the number three thing is weekly planning. We do an exercise where we are to do that in our calendars for the next year. And here's what I find almost every single time. People put in the lead gen and they put in the weekly planning, and nobody touches the time off because we are so out of whack at the way we live our lives. It's crazy. All right. So those three things are highly important. Get your vacation time on your calendar. You don't have a ton of money right now, block vacation time anyways. I'm not telling you to spend money you don't have. And yet you are not designed to work 24/7. Not how it works. All right. So if your vacation is just a staycation in your house where you veg out for a while and hide from the world, do it. All right, do it. So we're going to block our time off because we're going to build our business world around our life, not the other way around. Then we're going to add that daily lead generation. It should be in the morning. I'm not going to die on that hill right now. You want to lead generate every afternoon and you're consistent, you do it. You do you. And yet we must lead generate daily or else we are not running a business and we are unemployed on any day we do not lead generate that was a work day for us. All right. And we're going to have our weekly planning time in there. That's where we're simply going to sit down with our calendar, sit down with our goals, see where we're at, see if we're off in any place so that we can adjust for that. If you looked at your goals and where you were in relation to them every single week, you'd hit them. You'd hit them every year because it would be small little changes you'd make every week to get there. When we only look at them once or twice a year, this is why we fail, because we weren't committed. Okay. The other thing for weekly planning time is that when you plan things out in advance, life is going to happen. There are certain things you will have to adjust for. Like when you have an appointment to go see that specialist doctor, and if you cancel that appointment, it's going to be another 6 months. Okay, well, maybe that's a day that you move your lead generation. That's acceptable. When your kid got to the finals of whatever sport they play, and you've got a couple days where you're going to go watch them play, great. You're going to adjust for that. That's okay. That's the point of weekly planning time. So those three things must be on your calendar, and they should be planned at least a year out. Time off, lead gen, weekly planning time. I recommend you do your weekly planning time on Sunday or Saturday. I say Sunday. It's the best time to do it. As somebody who proudly does not work weekends, I don't consider that working. That's my life prep time. It's not just business. I'm looking at personal goals too. So there's one chunk, and we're going to talk about that in class as well. So I'm not going to harp on that too much. I want to talk about some of the reasons that we avoid time blocking and scheduling, and we look at it as a lack of freedom. I'd like you to understand that you should not have every minute of your day planned out. I have had agents come to me sweating, stressed, saying, I just can't do this time blocking thing. And I'm looking at it and it's like 5 minute, 10 minute increments, and it's insane. Friends, that's not, you are meant to have white space on your calendar. You are meant to have room for the stuff and the junk and the stuff that happens, right? However, we've got to have important things on there. Another thing is we have to take control. And that's why I say this whole structure thing, this gives us power and it gives us freedom. When I am committed to lead generating every single day, like the example I said, somebody asks for a morning appointment and that's what I'm lead generating. I'm not going to say, well, I'm lead generating, then I can't meet with you. You know what? I've got an appointment then. Would A or B work? And I'm going to give them 2 times that work for me. When I'm on the phone with somebody and I'm looking to close and set an appointment, I'm never just going to say, well, when could you meet? I'm going to say we should meet. I could do this option or this option. Which one of those is best for you? And if those options don't work, you're going to have plan C and plan D available as well. You take control of your time. Now, here's the other thing that's rampant in our industry, and it makes me sad. It makes me frustrated and sad for people. People who are not giving the proper attention to themselves and their loved ones and are pouring from an empty cup. Here's the absolute biggest calendar hack that will make it feel less constricting and more like your friend. Everything is an appointment. You may want to write that down. You may want to tattoo it somewhere. Everything is an appointment. Here's what I mean. When somebody says, hey, this listing just came up, I want to see it. Can you show me tonight? You're not working that night. Or you have practice for your kid, or you have an appointment to get your hair done, or you have dinner with a friend. You're not going to cancel your plans. You're not going to flake on people that matter to you. You're not going to flake on yourself, who should matter to you more than anybody else. You're going to say, gosh, I'm so sorry. I've got an appointment then. I can show it blank or blank. Here's a painful truth, and I'm sorry, I'd rather tell you as your friend than have you realize it the hard way. Even people who are close to you, when it comes to business, don't care about the same things that matter to you. They don't care that you had your kids' recital. They don't care that you worked 7 days in a row and you need an evening off. They don't care. So when we're too open and too detailed and tell them, yeah, no, little Timmy's got his thing that night. Oh gosh, that's a bummer. I really do need to see this house. Ooh. When you say you have an appointment, there's something that happens in the average person's brain that makes it very legitimate. And now they're not going to be combative. And now they're going to adjust to the time that works for you. And just think about it. What professional do you have in your world that meets with you anytime that you want, no matter what, that picks up the phone anytime you want, no matter what? I'll let you think about it because it doesn't exist. It's not how things work, and our business doesn't have to be that way either. When you run your time block and your calendar in a manner where you retain control, and the things that you're putting inside of it are the things that are moving you closer to your goals, it will no longer feel like a lack of freedom. And when you live that way, you will build and earn the wealth that you were looking for. You will create the freedom that you desired. And those two things together are the ultimate flexibility in your world. So I challenge you to look at these things differently. And if scheduling, time blocking, sticking to it, creating it, if any of the things that we just talked about are a really big challenge for you, please feel free to reach out to me. This is something I'm passionate about. I have multiple businesses, multiple roles, and a lot of kids and a marriage. And I've always got a lot of things going on. And I am fierce with my scheduling and my time blocking because I choose to not work crazy hours and I choose to be where my feet are when the people matter. And I'd love to spend time with you and help you get closer to that if you don't want to wait till we're in the bold room together. Go harness the power and the freedom of structure and see how far you go.